Hey there, fellow travelers and photographers. If you're like me, your camera gear and the data you capture are precious, right? Whether you're exploring the world or on a weekend getaway, keeping your gear safe and your memories intact is crucial. But how do you ensure that camera equipment stays in one piece and your photos don't get lost in the process? Well, that's exactly what we're going to cover today. How to keep your camera gear and your data safe during travels. If we haven't met, hi, my name is Belinda. I help mirrorless photo enthusiasts capture timeless moments on life's greatest adventures. Let's start with camera gear safety. As photographers, we spend a lot of time and money collecting our tools, so we need to make sure that they're protected, especially when we're on the move. I've had my fair share of travel mishaps, and one that stands out happened last summer. I was traveling with my family and we were getting ready to check in an Airbnb. Well, my f-stop camera backpack, which I've used for over 10 years, slipped out of the trunk before it was closed, and just as my husband was backing up the car. And yes, my entire camera backpack with all my Canon gear went under the wheel of a 7-seater SUV. According to my husband, he said he was surprised he ran over a big rock. Well, I was devastated. I had my Canon R5, all 3 Canon RF lenses, and a whole bunch of filters in the backpack. But surprisingly, almost all my camera gear survived. The only real damage was my Canon RF 70 to 200 millimeters f2.8 lens, which was featured in one of my latest videos. Check it out if you haven't. Well, it was severely damaged and cost me a whole month and over $900 to repair. In addition, my 10-stop ND filter got completely crushed and my graduated ND filters got warped. By the way, I have a separate video talking about filters, specifically my recommended filters and my new replacement filters in one of my past videos. Check it out if you haven't. Now, the key takeaway here is that my f-stop camera backpack saved my gear. Why? Because of its design. In fact, I never really checked in detail until after this incident. I opened it. It has a metal frame that adds a layer of protection, which kept the rest of my equipment saved. Over the years, I sometimes thought that it was a tiny little bit heavy for me, but now I'm so grateful for that solid build. And guess what? I'm still using that camera backpack even after 12 years, even after this incident. By the way, this video was not sponsored by f-stop or anyone else. I'm just sharing my true experience. Of course, since I bought my backpack 12 years ago, I had no idea if they have modified their design or not. Now, here's my top tip for you. Always invest in high-quality camera bag that provides protection, ideally with a solid frame. I know everyone wants things to be light and small these days, but after this incident, I'm truly convinced it was worth carrying an extra weight of 1 pound or so just to have peace of mind. When I travel with my kids, it's even more crucial to think about camera bag safety. For example, on my 4-month solo trip across Europe with my 2 kids a year ago, my then 8-year-old would carry my Sony SM4 and another day pack. In crowded places, I'd make sure he walked in front of me or wore the day pack on his front. Also, I forgot to mention, I love the design of my f-stop camera backpack because the internal ICU opening faces my back rather than being exposed to the public, which is a key safety feature when traveling. You can see more about this bag in one of my older videos, which I shared over 10 years ago. I'll provide the link in the description below as well. Another essential safety feature I've incorporated into my travel routine is AirTags. I put an AirTag in every piece of luggage carrying photography equipment, whether it's my f-stop backpack, my son's day pack, tripod sling, or even suitcases if I store camera accessories there. AirTags gave me real-time tracking, so I always know where my gear is. This small investment provides massive peace of mind, especially when dealing with airport luggage handlers or crowded transit systems. Now let's talk about camera straps. One thing I've learned over the years is to replace those straps with loud logos such as Canon, Sony, or maybe you have Nikon, Fujifilm, with those low-key, durable options without logos. Here's my love and hate relationship piece, the Peak Design camera strap, which I've been using for years but hesitate to recommend to anyone. I love how durable it is and how easy it is to clip on and off the camera. It's wide enough not to dig into my neck during long shoots, which is a big plus. But here's the downside. The big loop it forms on the strap often gets in the way when I hold the camera close to my face. On top of that, the strap length constantly changes by itself. I find myself frequently readjusting it, which can be annoying. I think this strap may work better with taller photographers who don't need to shorten it as much, avoiding the loop problem. I've also experimented with wrist strap for lighter cameras such as my Sony a7 IV. I've been loving the brand of PGY Tech over the years and have positive experiences with many of its products. So I invested in its camera wrist strap as well. It's solid and durable, just like the Peak Design strap, but with one unique feature. Once you slide your wrist in, the loop tightens for extra security. It's great for peace of mind, but can take extra effort to loosen and remove, especially when you're in a hurry. I wish it had a locking feature for the loop size so I could slide in and out more easily. Well, still, it's a fantastic option for those who prefer not to carry the weight of a neck strap. Now, let's talk about data safety, which is just as important as protecting your gear. Never underestimate the importance of memory cards and how you handle them while on the go. I use CF Express Type A card for my Sony a7 IV and CF Express Type P card for my Canon R5. These cards can store thousands of photos, raw photos to be specific, and while I don't format them very often, I've never encountered a single issue with corrupted files. Not even once. Getting reliable products and investing in quality instead of quantity or deals have been my long-term principle. Because I prefer purchasing the right product only once instead of having to replace them often because of quality issues. In long travels or road trips in remote places where a camera store or repair shop isn't available within hundreds of miles of radius, the last thing you want is unreliable gear. My two CF Express memory cards are 128GB and 160GB in size, both from Sony brands. I'll link the product in the description below. Since I'm more a photographer than a videographer, I find these sizes to have sufficient storage for me. I typically photograph hundreds of photos and process all my photos in the end of each travel day. I don't have to delete all my photos immediately from the memory cards. Although I still have to empty card spaces regularly on my trips, I'll try to keep the photos on the memory cards as long as I can until I get home. So I have an extra copy of the photo files. Just in case you're curious, I followed a simple and systematic Adobe Lightroom workflow for the past 15 years and have shared my post-processing principles and tips in this video. Check it out if you haven't. When you're traveling and shooting hundreds or thousands of photos every day, the last thing you want is losing your files, right? That's why I rely on a 3-copy system for all my photo data. My primary storage is always SanDisk SSDs. Let me show you just some of them. They're small, light, and fast, perfect for travels. I never store my photos directly on my MacBook, which has a 1TB storage. Since I shoot in RAW and my photo files are huge, it's just not very practical to store everything on my computer. Instead, I keep my original files on my SSD, which ranges between 2 to 4 TB in storage. Then I back them up in 2 other places. First, I have a physical backup at home on a hard drive. It has been upgraded multiple times over the years. Of course, I have multiple of them. Right now, my largest drive is 16 TB in size. I have used both Western Digital and Seagate for over 10 years, and I have trusted them for reliability. But these large storage hard drives are big and chunky. So when I travel, I typically bring a portable hard drive, which is a lot smaller in physical size. I make sure that it's twice the size as my SSD, and I can do regular time machine backup for my photo files. This way, I have peace of mind knowing that if something happened to my SSD, my data is still safe somewhere else. Now, the third backup copy is in the cloud. I used Backblaze for years to back up everything remotely. While I don't usually back up my data during travel because the internet is often unreliable and slow in the hotels or Airbnbs, I make sure to do a full backup immediately after I get home from each trip. It's a good habit to have multiple copies of your data so that no matter what happens, you always have a backup plan. So there you have it, my tips and personal experience for keeping your camera gear and photo data safe while traveling. Whether it's choosing the right camera bag, using AirTags and durable camera straps, ensuring your memory cards come from reliable brands, or backing up your data in multiple ways, it's all about peace of mind. After all, our gear is expensive and our memories are irreplaceable. And taking a few extra steps to protect them is totally worthwhile. If you find this video helpful, be sure to give it the thumbs up, and if you haven't already, subscribe for more travel photography tips. And leave me a comment below with your own camera gear safety tips. I'd love to hear what works for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.